everybody. Welcome back to the Everyday Night. I'm Joe.
And I'm Jeff.
And Jeff,
Yes.
I deduce.
Yes.
I
Your
conclude.
deductive powers are well known to me.
Yes. I deduce by your raised eyebrows that you have a beverage with you.
Well,
But
I think
before we
history-
get into that, there should be a reason why, and also based on past behaviors.
Yeah, okay. I think that's fair.
Yeah. But we should explain that the reason I began thusly was because of what we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah. In discussion with my brilliant and lovely wife, I came up with this, what I decided was going to be a rather lighter, somewhat of a departure from our often politically leaning talks of late, because I'm just so angry about everything right now.
Yeah.
That I thought we should talk about. And I'm not sure how we are going to work the virtues in or around this, but this may be just one of those topics that we talk about that's of interest to us and maybe some of our audience.
Well, actually, I thought about that and believe that the subjects we're going to discuss are often exemplars of virtues.
Oh, well, certainly of one or the other, or
Yes.
a handful.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought we would talk about fictional detectives.
Yes.
And our favorites.
Yes.
In particular.
And it was difficult because you said 5, and I had to pare it
picked a
down.
number at random that would be enough for us to talk about for a half an hour at least.
Yeah, I pared it down. I bet there will be some overlap. I pared it down to 5. There are several others that I will mention in passing.
Honorable mentions?
Yes. But of course, I have reasons for my choices, as you would expect.
As I would expect, yes.
Position here. So, before we commence,
yes. Oh, shall we discuss our libations?
What is your beverage of choice? I deduce that it has bourbon in it.
Indeed. You're a little harder to pin down.
Yes.
But in fact, I am in some ways reduced to bourbon because I am much chagrined at the lack of variety in our cabinet at the moment. It is looking uncomfortably empty. Oh. And I think with this weekend we're going to go on a big restocking run. But this is, as I've had before, something from Indiana distilleries called the Breakfast of Degenerates, which is a bourbon aged in maple barrels. So it's a whiskey. It's not maple flavored exactly. It doesn't have any maple syrup in it, but it derives a bit of its aftertaste from the maple barrels. So it has a little bit of a maple finish, sweet finish.
Toasted maple barrels? Do you know?
I do not know. I would not think that a maple barrel would be charred particularly.
What were the maple barrels used for? Were they actually
maple syrup?
For maple syrup. So are the staves maple wood?
No, I don't believe so. It doesn't. I don't think maple wood would impart the flavor of maple syrup.
Right.
So I think that they are barrels that maple syrup was stored in.
Yeah, so maybe oak, but
perhaps.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
And you, sir, what are you imbibing?
An Applejack, which I've had before. Mm-hmm. It is apple brandy, grenadine, and lemon juice with a finish of a twist.
Apple brandy.
Yeah.
Is it a sweet apple or a tart apple?
Well, it's interesting because I've tried both Laird's apple brandy, which is American made, and I've tried the French Calvados. And Calvados, which is also an apple brandy, is much more subtle. And this I'm using Laird's has more of an apple forward punch to it. And I've tried it both ways, and I prefer this because it's more pronounced flavor. I have found often I've noted with things like a rosé wine, I prefer like an Italian Sangiovese rosé to a French rosé because the French rosés are so subtle they're practically invisible. they're just they're subtle, and I appreciate that. But they're overwhelmed by almost any food, by almost anything. Right. It's just
so they don't pair well with things.
Well, they do, but it has to be similarly subtle. French cheeses, soft cheeses, it goes well with, but I prefer the Italian Sangiovese rosé. So anyway, I prefer and this is nice. It's a very fruity, but not too sweet. The only sweetness is really the grenadine. The apple brandy itself is not sweet, but has a lot of apple flavor to it.
Well, it's lovely color.
Yes, and balanced by the tartness of the lemon juice. So here's to you.
Right. So,
did you list your detectives in order?
No, I did not, and I honestly found it difficult, like you said, to come up with 5 that were not, I don't know what you'd call long-time favorites.
Oh,
okay. and most popular. I was interested in who the most popular were and why.
Yeah.
And whether or not any of them on my list, and of course some are. So I didn't really put them in any particular order because I think they hit the top 5 for different reasons.
Yeah, as did mine.
Yeah.
So would you like to begin?
Well, before I get to our lists, I wanted to call out the sort of, I think will probably be on both of our lists, is Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes.
He's number 1 on my list.
Okay.
Sherlock
Holmes. He is certainly the most well-known fictional detective.
Yes. Not the first fictional detective.
No, and I was going to mention, that's exactly where I was going.
Yes.
Edgar Allan Poe's Chevalier Auguste Dupin.
Yes.
1841.
In the Murders of the Rue Morgue, considered to be the first detective novel, also appeared in The Mystery of Marie Roget, The Purloined Letter. He practiced what Poe called ratiocination.
Yes.
A portmanteau of rationality and imagination. I love that word.
Yes.
It's great. But I'm a big fan of Poe.
Yes, I've read all of Poe's work.
Yeah.
I had kind of forgotten that particular character from the Murders in the Rue Morgue, but yeah, it was
Auguste Dupin. Yeah, great character. It's often thought that Conan Doyle based Holmes on a doctor who was his professor of anatomy.
Yes,
and
I heard that too.
I think there's a movie or streaming series or something depicting them, but I don't remember the name of it. So yes, he's my first, my number 1, and well, why is he on your list?
Partly because he is what I liked about him when I was reading them, I was introduced to Holmes outside of, the movies where Holmes fights the Nazis that I saw on Sunday rerun type shows. I was introduced to him by a book given to me by an uncle that was annotated. It was
Oh,
like 5 of his bigger, main stories. But in the margins, there were definitions and illustrations of the Victorian references that are made throughout. And that helped me get it and understand it.
yeah.
And after I was done with it, made me sort of realize it while I always still enjoyed it and always enjoyed it, it made me think to myself that there's a lot of leaping to conclusions here, that Holmes's methods would not mostly stand up in court, and is not typical of a real investigative mind.
Well, while that's true, it was represented a step forward from the police work of the era, where the police had to witness somebody doing it, or they had to be an eyewitness, or it was it was not, it was even less likely to stand up in court now, as we would say.
Oh, absolutely. Well,
So,
because
yeah.
English common law and criminal law depended almost entirely on witnesses. And if
Yes.
there were not eyewitnesses, character witnesses were the primary way to determine guilt or innocence.
and that the social classes and distinctions that were so prevalent in English society held inordinate sway. There's certainly been novelizations of, or speculations, and or both, about the identity of Jack the Ripper, and if he was a privileged class, and they tracked him down, they figured out who he was, but he got put away in a asylum or something, and because of, they didn't want the scandal, right?
Right.
Um,
But
so
what I found interesting in Holmes is, besides his deductions of, oh, you've got red mud on your shoes, and that could only, or most likely came from a puddle that I have walked by myself just a half block to the
Right.
east. But he, those kind of observational things. But he would do a lot of, and it's justified, I think, somewhat in the Victorian period. He would guess by someone's clothing, their social
he
status.
would say he never guessed; he deduced.
Yeah,
But he could.
that would lead him very quickly to a particular conclusion.
Yes, I think one of the problems with the very entertaining Robert Downey Jr., Jude Law, Sherlock Holmes movies. One of the problems was that the depiction of Holmes, as he dressed more like Oscar Wilde or a bohemian. Holmes was impeccable in dress in social situations, so that his disguises were more effective. It was a
Yes.
tool. He used clothing, and we've talked about clothing as camouflage, as social
Protective
camouflage.
coloration.
Yes. And he used it that way. So that distinction he made in his disguises and all of that. So I think I thought Holmes could only exist in that particular era and that locale in that society at that time, because everything was so specific to the place and the social strata and all
Yes.
of that. But there have been modernizations of it. The TV series Elementary, which I enjoyed very much. The streaming series Sherlock, which I also enjoyed very much. And actually, I want to give a shout out to a new series called Sherlock and Daughter,
Hmm.
because a friend of mine and her husband's the creator, and she wrote episodes of
Oh,
it, and it's terrific. So, hey, Shelley, Brendan, good work. It's doing really well. Really enjoyed it. I messaged them. I said, as a longtime Sherlockian myself, I really appreciate it because it's very much in keeping with that. I've read not only all of Conan Doyle, but I've read lots of post Conan Doyle
Holmes. Yeah.
novels about Holmes. Others, I mean, just so many, and some are better than others.
Well, yeah.
But I think Holmes certainly represents logic, intellect, rationality, which
Yes.
I think that he's smart, he's persistent, perseverance, observant, is highly skilled, uh, high skills in observation, detail, notices details, so attention to detail, and logical deduction. And I think that he also is physically capable and willing when absolutely necessary. Light
Yeah.
just
Sorry,
came.
I opened up something and it's
A light came on. You had an idea,
yeah. Well, you know how rarely that happens. But
but willing also to use physical force when necessary. As a skilled boxer. Excuse me. Endurance. So he's got a lot of virtues, but he also is not typical of the conventional Englishman of the time. That's the character of Watson.
yes.
Dr. John Hamish Watson, of Her Majesty's Northumberland Fusiliers, who took a bullet, right?
Yes.
He represent and he the way Watson has often been depicted looks like Conan Doyle
Yeah.
and represents it was such a great concept to have the adventures, the exploits of Holmes be presented as written by
Right.
Watson,
Narrated by
narrated by Watson. What a great concept. So yeah, Holmes is number one on my list. So
and like I said, I'm not ranking mine, but Holmes is definitely on my list. Another favorite of mine, although it doesn't run to the volumes that Conan Doyle did, is Dirk Gently.
oh,
Dirk Gently's Holistic
holistic,
Detective Agency.
yeah.
I, I I was just transported by that story. I thought it was great.
One of on my honorable mention list
Ah,
because
okay.
I really like Hitchhiker's Guide and Douglas Adams and just brilliant. Hitchhiker's Guide, a trilogy in 4 parts, 5 parts. Dirk Gently, the refrigerator. No, don't. I've had that experience. Don't open the refrigerator. It's been closed for a long time. So
Well,
yeah, go on. Tell me
it's
more.
it's it's almost the opposite of Holmes,
Yeah.
where he observes minute facts and builds a broader picture from which he can draw a conclusion. Whereas Dirk Gently looked at everything that was happening around the thing that he wanted to discover and narrowed it down to, well, it must have been this.
Inductive versus deductive.
Inductive, yeah, exactly. Inductive reasoning. The sofa on the stairs problem that features largely in the book is that they were able to get a sofa up to a second floor by getting up these stairs, and they were trying to get it back down, and they couldn't figure out a way. It was stuck, and his conclusion is that, well, something has fundamentally changed in the universe, because I could do this before, but I can't do it now. Something has changed. I just thought, like I said, almost as a counterpoint to someone like Holmes, where all of the detectives are all about the reason and reductive sort of. It has to be, you eliminate everything that is improbable or impossible, and whatever's left, whatever improbable, is the truth.
That's just exactly something that Holmes said.
Yeah. So it was almost the opposite. It was sort of saying, if we look at all of the improbable things that have actually happened, we must be able to find the only possible answer.
Yeah.
I just thought, as a mechanism, it was great. But it was only one book, so.
Oh, I thought there was another. There have been, I'm sure we can look it up, but there have been at least two. I don't know if there was a radio version, but there are at least two filmed versions.
No.
The latest one, I think, had Daniel Radcliffe in it.
Yes, and I haven't seen it yet, but I think I've
and the first one I saw, I did not. It didn't capture it quite right. I haven't seen the more recent one.
Yeah, so those are Holmes and Dirk Gentleman. Oh,
Great.
Before we go on, and I thought this might be an interesting exercise also, that I stumbled upon 4 archetypes for fictional detectives.
Oh, yeah.
And one is the amateur detective.
Yes.
And that's Miss Marple, Jessica Fletcher, Lord Peter Wimsey, I know someone that you like. People who find themselves in. Jessica Fletcher was the the joke of never invite her to a dinner party because somebody will die. They just find themselves in these extraordinary circumstances, and they are the ones that sort of lead a private investigation to find the truth.
And I think there would be no Jessica Fletcher without Miss Marple. I think she's the American version of Miss Marple.
Agatha Christie.
And what's that?
Agatha Christie, one of the most prolific.
Yes, of the creator of Miss Marple. I admire. I'm blanking on her name. Jessica Fletcher. Angela Lansbury. Because she conceived of and created that.
Yeah.
And used it. It was so. You would often see in that series, you would see older actors who you knew, who had been staples on TV or film you hadn't seen in a while. She, as the executive producer and creator and star of the show, would get them cast. So they had a role so they could earn enough credits to maintain their health insurance.
Right, through SAG, yeah.
Yeah, it was, I thought, really good.
And she also brought new young actors in for the same reason.
Do you know what her first movie role was?
Oh, as a young ingenue, I presume, because
she was a young ingenue, very pretty young ingenue in The Picture of Dorian Gray.
Oh, really? Who is Dorian Gray?
Herd Hatfield.
Oh, a stellar career branching from there.
But she did have him appear in an episode of Murder, She Wrote.
Well, wow.
Which I thought was great. One of the things, it was a black and white film, but the portrait, the painting of Dorian Gray, both the before and after, were painted by Ivan Albright, who's a painter. No, I've seen several of his works. There are a few at the Art Institute of Chicago, and they're pictures of decay, and it was just the perfect person to paint the after, which is, I think, in a private collection somewhere. I'm not sure about that, but yeah. So the amateur detective, and you mentioned that because Miss Jane Marple is one of the detectives on my list because she's an amateur detective, and for me, in a lot of ways, the archetype of the not just the amateur detective, but the amateur English countryside
Yeah.
cottagecore detective, right?
Cottagecore, yeah.
In the fictional village of Saint Mary Mead, she's numerous times she's appeared on screen. The actresses who played her have been brilliant. Yeah, she's. I mean, Agatha Christie wrote a lot of really interesting stuff, 10 Little Indians and others, great stuff. But the Miss Jane Marple, I think, as the amateur detective who is just going about her life, but she's so smart, so observant, and she's often dismissed, underrated, not thought of as capable because she's older and a woman.
Right.
And as as someone who has often been underestimated myself, and now as being as older than I used to be, underrated or underestimated for that reason, I appreciate the fact that she persists, she's perseverant, she's smart, she's capable. Yeah. So she's on my list.
Okay. Now,
Other archetypes.
other archetypes. So, amateur detective, private. The next one is the private investigator,
Yes.
and that's the private dick, the investigator for hire.
Yes.
Sam Spade, Christopher Marlowe, Holmes himself.
Philip Marlowe, not Christopher.
Christopher Marlowe, different guy.
Yeah.
That's Philip Marlowe. Hercule Poirot.
Yes. Well, Poirot wasn't.
Well, he was an investigator for hire. He occasionally found himself in situations where he wasn't hired. He was just there and
yes,
used his skills.
So, I've already said two of my. Why don't you continue with the archetypes, and we'll get back to that. But
okay. So, amateur detective, private investigator, police detective.
Yes.
And the forensic specialist.
Oh.
The fourth.
Okay. Yep.
Which I find interesting. And I think that many of some of the more popular, at least some of the more popular detectives are combinations of some of these things.
Yes.
Like,
well, Holmes was certainly forensic. I mean, the early stages of forensic detection, forensic science, he would analyze in his lab, in his rooms in 221B Baker Street, analyze compounds. He famously wrote a monograph on tobacco, and ash, and could analyze it and smell it and so on. Started using fingerprints very early on.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So those are the four archetypes.
Okay.
And most everybody on this, I've got the nearly definitive list, including many foreign. We are coming at this basically as Western American readers. I've got quite a long list of Indian and European authors as well. But so, did you want to expand further on Hercule Poirot?
Well,
Or,
why don't you give another one on
okay,
your list?
another one from my list is Detective William Murdoch.
I
Unknown to you?
Yeah, I don't know
Oh,
who that is.
he is a turn of the century detective of the Toronto Constabulary.
Was there a TV series?
Yes,
I
yes, in
saw the
fact,
TV series.
yes,
Um,
that's the character, William Murdoch.
mhm.
Very much a forensic specialist
Yeah.
as well as a deductive type mind. What you might call him somewhat emotionally stunted in some ways. Kind of as Holmes is sometimes depicted unfairly, I think.
Oh, there's certainly in a lot of these detectives, starting with Holmes, something we would refer to as being on the spectrum.
Yes, certainly.
The obsessive compulsive, Holmes, once when the game was afoot, would not eat. And he would be completely focused on things, but only if they interested him. So, yeah, I think that's certainly
Right.
a characteristic of a lot. So,
But I put it down in some ways, he was raised by Jesuits, William Murdoch. So
yeah.
I think that he wasn't so much emotionally stunted. He was just never, as a boy and a young man, not given latitude emotionally. That he wasn't. It was not encouraged in him to express emotion. So he
Hmm.
has a hard time with it. But I enjoyed the series immensely. The other characters were great, and there he was also an inventor, and that is part of the charm of the series, is that he would invent things that we now sort of take for granted as police forensic machinery, and he would come up with the most absurd Victorian sort of name for it.
Which reminds me of something I wanted to mention. So, I had a painting teacher. He lived in the hills of West Virginia. I studied with him for a week, stayed in a room off the studio. Great teacher, sadly passed away. He had been a forensic specialist in Alaska, was offered a position at the FBI, turned it down because he wanted to paint, and moved to
Okay.
West Virginia. And if you've ever seen CSI or any of those, and they take an object, they put it in a chamber, and they fill it with a gas to bring
Mm-hmm.
out fingerprints. The gas is aerosolized superglue.
Cyanide. It's a cyanide.
Cyanoacrylate.
Yeah.
Cyanoacrylate. He invented that technique.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah. And so he's still living in where he did. He still taught classes and consulted with the West Virginia Department of Investigation, the state equivalent of the FBI.
Interesting.
And yeah, I thought that was very interesting. So I thought that was really really cool. Um,
So
so
that's another one on my list.
well, when you mentioned that, and I'm going to mention one who is kind of similar, but in a different setting, similar time frame. Not one of my main ones on my list, but Heck Ramsey.
Oh,
And Heck Ramsey was a character played by Richard Boone.
Richard Boone,
Um,
indeed.
after Have Gun Will Travel, which is one of my favorite Western TV series. But he played Heck Ramsey, who was a a retired gunfighter who
Yeah.
was hired as by the police chief of a western town when they are moving from a sheriff and deputy system to a police force, and and Ramsey is thought of as this old school guy, but he's the one bringing in modern forensic scientific
I kind of remember that. I
induction.
mean, I was a
And
kid when that series
yeah, and
was.
he brings in. You can find them online. The resolution is not good, but they're available on YouTube.
Hmm.
He comes into town with his bag, his case, which has scientific equipment in it, which is really now he's willing to use appropriate force when necessary, and he has
Well, it is the Old West after all.
run-ins with the his boss, the younger sheriff, who wants to do everything by the book, and he says, "You don't have the right book."
Yeah, you don't have a book yet. We're writing the
Yeah,
book right now.
yeah, exactly. So it is reminding me of the Murdoch mysteries that I also watched. But I thought I would mention that. So
I always wanted there to be because I remembered that series when you remember the old was it Friday Night at the Movies, the McCloud,
oh yeah,
Dennis Weaver's
yeah,
McCloud. I always wanted there to be some sort of ancestral tie-in for
yeah.
Heck Ramsey. So I thought that would have been neat. But
I wanted an ancestral tie-in between Leroy Jethro Gibbs of NCIS and a character called Shotgun Gibbs, who
oh,
was the deputy in. I'm blanking on the name, but he's called Shotgun Gibbs because he carried a 10 gauge shotgun.
elephant gun.
Yeah. So I will look him up here because now I got to remember what the character was.
So while you're looking that up,
Yes.
um, I think I'll name another that I think is probably on both
Okay.
of us also. It's Batman.
Oh, the world's greatest detective.
Yeah.
Yeah. Duh. Okay. Um,
Also a forensic whiz,
yeah.
an entire bat laboratory.
Yeah. He trained himself. Oh, The Life and Times of Wyatt Earp, the Hugh O'Brien TV series. Shotgun Gibbs was played by an actor named Morgan Woodward, and he carried a 10 gauge shotgun. And
Okay.
that's where I'd see him. So I always wanted that tie in
Was,
between him and.
was he an ally of Wyatt Earp or
Oh,
a?
yeah, he was a
Okay.
deputy.
Oh, all right.
He was a deputy. Yeah. So I always wanted there to be a tie in there. So anyway, Batman, the world's greatest detective.
Yeah. Lest we forget.
Yeah.
I mean, very much a product of a of Bob Kane's sort of picking from other fiction and combining in a new way
Yes.
the character. I always enjoyed Batman's detective aspect.
And it actually the Batman movie with Robert Pattinson as the Batman was the director stated that one of the goals was to emphasize the detective characteristic of the Batman. It should be noted when mentioning Batman, you mentioned Bob Kane, Bill Finger,
Yes.
who was the artist who really created the look and so much about Batman, the Batman, that would not exist. That Kane for a long time took complete credit of for it. But yeah, absolutely, Batman. So I'll go next.
Okay.
Nick and Nora Charles
Okay.
of the Thin Man.
So, so they're in the amateur detective category, I would say.
Except he was a police detective, but he
Retired.
retired.
Yeah. Okay.
So okay, so that's kind of it's kind of a mix. But he's written by Dashiell, created by Dashiell Hammett, who also created Sam Spade, who's a runner-up on my list of five for a reason I'll get to. So Thin Man, they're wealthy. He's a former police detective. She's an heiress. They're witty, sophisticated. In the Thin Man movie, played by Myrna Loy and William Powell, and the first scene with him, he's at a bar in a swanky 30s
Right.
nightclub teaching the bartenders how to make a proper martini. It's just classic. It's just terrific. The dialogue, the banter between them, so good. So good. And he's smart and they care for each other. And she's I have observed and used this observation in the novel I'm currently writing. He's a smartass. She's witty, and he's a smartass. And
Yes.
and so really enjoy that. He's smart. He solves things through real deductive skill. Reluctantly, because he doesn't really want to get involved, but he keeps getting involved. And and she encourages him to get involved because she thinks it'll be fun. And wow, do they drink a lot?
Yeah, it's a whole thing through the whole every
Yeah,
movie.
yeah. So that's really, really, and I found a comment about Dashiell Hammett, because Hammett also created Sam Spade and wrote The Maltese Falcon, and but a comment about Hammett by Raymond Chandler, who's often sort of considered his successor, and he wrote an essay called "The Simple Art of Murder." And he wrote this. He said, Hammett gave murder back to the kind of people that commit it for reasons, not just to provide a corpse. And so he gave the murderers motive. He gave them reasons. They weren't just and I thought that was an interesting observation. He was spare, frugal, hard-boiled.
Yeah.
But he did over and over again what only the best writers can ever do at all. He wrote scenes that seemed never to have been written before. Which actually, and I'm surprised that the term hard-boiled didn't come up.
Well, I think that's a subcategory of the private investigator.
Yes. So hard-boiled wasn't a type of crime fiction, but refers to tough, cynical attitude towards emotions triggered by violence. So hard-boiled, your shell is hard, you're hard-boiled. Which,
And Sam Spade is in that category.
yes. And the reason I put Sam Spade as secondary is that Sam Spade, for me, only works if he's being played by Humphrey Bogart.
Okay.
Because he's not as he's smart, he's funny, he's witty, he's tough, but he's not as much any of those things unless Bogey is playing him. he seems, even though he came after, well, he came after some of the others, but yeah, I think I like the Maltese Falcon. As a movie, I like movies with like all. I'm a fan of Bogart, but I put him lower on the list because I think he's less interesting than one of my other choices, which is by Raymond Chandler, Philip Marlowe.
Yes,
So,
I think you're right. I think, see, to me, there's Sam Spade reached that, or was the diverting point that led to Hammer.
Mike Hammer,
Mike Hammer, Mickey Spillane's Mike
Mickey Spillane,
Hammer
yeah,
stories,
yeah,
which is just hard boiled fists and
yeah.
back alley beat downs, and that's
He didn't even make my list because he's a parody of himself.
yes,
You know, I
kind of.
kind of,
Certainly, the Stacy Keach series
yeah,
was ridiculous.
yeah. Well, and the novels too are just they're so
Sophomoric, I think, is the
yeah,
word.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Mickey Spillane was the character himself, and he played that up too.
Yes. Well, he was. I think he was one of the first writers that understood branding.
Yeah, yeah. But since I mentioned Philip Marlowe, written by Raymond Chandler, who wrote the praise of Dashiell Hammett. He wrote The Big Sleep, Farewell My Lovely, Long Goodbye, all starring Philip Marlowe. I have listened to a lot of old time radio episodes with Philip Marlowe.
Hmm.
And they're most successfully played by an actor named Gerald Moore, Mohr Moore. And he was, you'd recognize his face, character actor, but he embodied the hard drinking, tough, wisecracking, but also thoughtful. The voiceover, the voice to himself, is thoughtful, contemplative, knowledgeable, sensitive. Even he's not fooled by femme fatales. So he's
been down that road too many times to be fooled
yes,
again. Yeah.
and he was also played on in film by Richard Powell, who played Richard Diamond in other radio, and it was another one, Richard Diamond in on radio, and those the why he was that emphasized the wisecracking a lot more.
Okay.
There was I was surprised it ran for 4 seasons in the late 50s, a Richard Diamond TV series with David Janssen, the actor before The Fugitive. He's most well known for playing Dr. Richard Kimball in The Fugitive on TV. 4 seasons, but I found one episode online. It was terrible. I'm surprised it lasted 4 seasons because it had none of the wisecracking. And Richard Diamond as a detective without wisecracking is nothing.
Okay.
But Philip Marlowe's been played by Gerald Moore on radio, Humphrey Bogart, James Garner, Robert Mitchum, and others.
James Garner. That's interesting.
The Big Sleep, Farewell My Lovely, The Long Goodbye, movies, hard drinking, tough, not afraid to be physical, but that's not his first resort. Sam Spade that often is, except when Bogey played him, it was smartly used. So Philip Marlowe, Raymond Chandler, Private Eye,
Okay.
Private Detective. Yeah.
It reminds me of Well, there's a couple of other, like Boston Blackie. I always enjoyed
Oh
the
yeah,
Boston Blackie
yeah,
series. Very much, almost I'd say a rip-off of that sort of Raymond Chandler, Dashiell Hammett.
yeah. I think it's another archetype though. The former criminal turned detective.
Oh,
You know, because Boston Blackie, who had underworld connections, I think that also leads to there are others. You remember Cary Grant in the Hitchcock film
Catch a Thief?
Catch a Thief, and then the TV series
Yes.
It Takes a Thief, or
Takes
maybe
a
I'm
Thief.
mixing those up.
Was that Robert
With
Wagner?
Robert Wagner, yeah, and Fred Astaire played his father. But former criminals turned reluctantly sometimes, or willingly, into the Saint. Was
Yes.
Leslie Charteris, played by Vincent Price on radio.
Interesting.
Yeah,
More well known by Roger Moore on the television series.
yes, which was also fun. I enjoyed him more as the Saint than I did as when he played Bond.
I didn't mind Moore's Bond. He was. I don't think it was a good characterization of Ian Fleming's Bond, but I liked the Bond movies that had Roger Moore in them.
I think I didn't mind him, but I minded the movies because they were silly.
Oh, well, I guess that's kind of what I mean, that they weren't really true to Ian Fleming's
Right. They
vision
were
of Bond.
too silly. Um, so, so anyway, that's, I think,
Although,
another.
although Man with the Golden Gun, that's
Well, yeah, but
hard to beat.
you've got Christopher Lee in that, so
Well,
it's
yeah.
hard to go wrong there. You know,
Yeah.
he played Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing each played Sherlock Holmes. I think,
Yes. I know Peter Cushing did.
and we didn't mention Basil Rathbone, who Basil Rathbone
Yes.
was just terrific, and
Who
also,
solidified the character in most people's,
Yes.
at least a whole generation of people's minds.
and also played him on radio for a while.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, I like the old time radio mysteries.
Yeah.
I think they're, yeah. So,
As we were talking about, I was trying to remember a sort of an obscure, like you're saying, the bad guy gone good.
yeah.
And I'm trying to remember the character's name. Riverboat on the Mississippi, gambler,
Yes. Yancey Derringer.
Yancey Derringer. Yes.
Yancey Derringer, played by Jock Mahoney.
Yes, which a stuntman turned actor.
Yes. Played Tarzan in 3 movies, none of which were set in Africa.
Really,
Yes.
I'm not totally unaware of these gems of the cinema.
But Jock Mahoney, Yancey Derringer, with his faithful sidekick, Native American, Pahu, I think, who had a knife sheathed at his back and could throw it with deadly accuracy. And Yancey Derringer had a derringer in his gambler's
Yep.
hat.
I've always sort of thought of him as the precursor to Maverick.
Yeah, and it makes sense in a lot of ways. I don't know what the timing of those series was, but yeah.
Well, Maverick came Maverick was in color
Not initially. I don't
before,
think.
well, not initially, but before the series ended, it was in
Yeah.
color.
I think well, it lasted a lot longer too, and they had a movie. The I think that's another it's not quite detective, but the amateur problem solver not detective, but there's a situation and they
Well, it's
solve
not a
it.
murder mystery type
Right.
detective. They're usually solving some or fixing some injustice.
Hmm.
So, and it
Yep.
takes a certain amount of investigation to figure out how best to do that.
Yeah.
The equalizer type character,
Yes. Yeah.
not strictly a detective, true.
But a
Yeah, okay.
problem
But
solver. Yeah.
my mind wrangled that out of my memory, and I couldn't
Okay.
come up with the character's name. Thank
Okay.
you. So, like I said, I haven't put these in any particular order, but I'm remembering my fifth one goes all the way back to the first detective stories I ever read
Okay.
as a preteen.
Well,
Think you can guess who I would have read as a preteen as a detective?
so let's see. Cuneiform on clay tablets.
Come on now.
Or
We had the printing press by the time I was preteen.
oh, really? Okay. Okay. Movable metal type. Yeah. The first Encyclopedia Brown.
Bingo. I loved Encyclopedia Brown. I, I, I mean, it was to me, Encyclopedia Brown was the using your brain to fight the bully,
Yep.
as he often did, turning the tables on a scam that was being run by Butch and his erstwhile minions. I and using science, his knowledge of his vast knowledge of all science, which is why he got the name Encyclopedia. Leroy Brown was his real name. Encyclopedia was
Was
his
he
nickname.
bad?
No, he was good, Leroy Brown. Before there was a bad Leroy Brown.
Yeah.
No, but I still to this day I remember Encyclopedia Brown and some
Yeah.
of those stories.
I think then Scooby Doo, Scooby Doo Gang deserves a mention.
Yes,
And
as while we're talking about this, as do Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys,
yes.
both
Yes.
created by the same author.
Oh, really? Both.
Yes, and
Oh,
published
okay.
by the same publishing company.
Okay.
I think to just hit both young
Yep.
boys and young girl markets.
Yep.
The stories
There,
were so similar as to be almost
yeah.
interchangeable.
There was a Nancy Drew TV series,
Hmm.
but she was portrayed as older, a college student.
Yeah,
There was
in the 70s.
a single, well, more recently even.
Oh, oh,
Yeah,
no.
there was I tuned into an episode and it was forgettable. There was a singular TV made for TV movie that I think could have been an interesting series because the casting and the writing was so good. The actress playing Nancy Drew, she's been in It. She was in the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Oh,
Sophia Lillis, a brilliant young actress. She was in a streaming series that was ended on a cliffhanger and then was canceled by Netflix. Damn them.
hmm.
Uh, about a young woman developing telekinetic abilities. But anyway, yeah, Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys. I remember the Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew series, streaming series in the 80s. I think they were.
Well,
The,
yes,
yeah,
with Sean Cassidy,
yes,
and I don't remember the other actor's name.
yeah.
Um,
There've
did
been
he not go on to? Hmm?
so many interesting Psych, the detective agency where the one character pretends to be psychic. He's just
He's a
very observant,
he's a mentalist.
mental. Well, the mentalist,
The
which
mentalist,
was
yes.
really, I thought that was really good. His skills of observation, the a monk who's interesting, Columbo,
Yep, yep.
so many really, really interesting characters. So often but I've noticed this pattern where they're not a police detective, even if they used to be. They're not currently, but there's some quirk about them
Yeah.
that, you know, the obsessive compulsive disorder, the very high intelligence with high potentials is current series, the pretends to be a psychic. There's some quirk.
But you know what I notice about that particular pattern, that quirk,
Yeah.
is that they require some kind of handler.
Yes.
That is like Watson is the
Yeah.
person that says, "My gosh, Holmes, how did you come to that conclusion?"
Yeah.
So that they can explain it to the audience.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, I see that. I have noted that pattern also, and
Yes.
it usually comes with some sidekick, assistant, handler.
Well, and a quirky character
Remington
often.
Steele.
Oh, Remington Steele. The quirky character often needs a character the audience can identify with
Right.
to contrast with their quirkiness. So Remington Steele with Pierce Brosnan and Stephanie Zimbalist Jr. Or Stephanie Zimbalist, not Jr.
Ephraim Zimbalist Jr.
Ephraim Zimbalist, who played his father in the
Yes.
eventually in the series. Pre Pierce Brosnan's Bond. In fact, the series was canceled. He was offered Bond, then couldn't do it because he was popular. So the network picked up the series for another year,
Yeah.
which delayed him being Bond. He was eventually Bond. I liked his Bond quite a bit. I have often remarked Pierce Brosnan and I are the same age. We're born about a month apart. He still looks like James Bond, and I look like fucking Gandalf.
Well, you know, if you could pamper yourself the way a Hollywood actor does, you know,
Well,
get all the treatments.
he seems to be, by all accounts, a really good person too. So, good actor as well. But he was, and we've talked about this before, how he was essentially an art thief, a criminal, a cat burglar, second story man,
And a confidence man.
and he got, by a series of circumstances, got roped into being the front man, named Remington Steele, for this detective agency run by Laura Holt, the character played by Stephanie Zimbalist, because in that era, clients wouldn't trust a woman to run a detective agency, and so,
Well, but he wasn't roped. Now, see, this is what I
or
thought.
he jumped, or he didn't wasn't roped into it. He
He just
wormed
walked
into
walked
it.
in,
Yes,
knowing that he had figured out her scam
yes,
as a confidence man, and walked in knowing she couldn't turn him in because she would
Yes.
eventually have to produce the real Remington Steele,
Yes.
and there wasn't one.
yes. But after that pilot episode, which showed that his skills, in his criminal skills, were really useful in detection, he then turned into, they wrote him as a kind of a bumbler.
Yeah.
And that was, I still liked the series and watched it, but that was disappointing. So
I
I
think
do.
the story was Stephanie Zimbalist, I think, was supposed to be the star of the show,
Yeah,
even though it was
yeah.
named after Remington Steele. But his character was so engaging that the audience turned to him
Yeah,
because you're right. He would pull out lock picking skills and
yeah,
all of these things, his cat burglar type skills that she really didn't have,
yeah,
and was loath to have him use, but he became too useful as well as being a front for the company.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but you're absolutely right. They turned him into comic relief
Yeah.
instead of an equal partner in the agency.
And then similar era moonlighting with Sybil Shepherd and Bruce Willis. She inherits
Oh, stop.
the
Sorry, I'm
agency.
getting all these Facebook messages, and since I've got
So moonlighting, that was one. Another, it was mostly about the relationship between the characters. So I do have another very different to offer on my list.
okay.
Brother Cadfael.
I considered Brother Cadfael myself.
Yes, by written by Ellis Peters, the pen name of scholar Edith Partiger. He's 21 historical murder mysteries written between 1977 and 1994 about Brother Cadfael, a Welsh Benedictine monk living at the Abbey Church of St. Peter and St. Paul in Shrewsbury in western England in the first half of the 12th century during the contest for the crown of England between King Stephen and his cousin Empress Maud. Mm-hmm. And Cadfael played in a PBS series, BBC series, by Derek Jacobi.
Yeah, brilliantly by Derek.
Brilliantly. So interesting because not only is he's such an interesting character because he wasn't always a monk. He was a crusader. He was a knight. He was and so he's seen the world and becomes a monk later in his life and uses his knowledge of the world and his scholarly acumen and solving these crimes and so interesting the historical context of these because they're written by someone who is a scholar of the era and I found those really engaging and it's interesting that when you read, so for me anyway, when I read a novel without having seen a depiction of it on screen, I visualize what the characters look like, what they sound like, what the settings are, and then if you see a depiction of it on screen, you'll go, yeah, no, that's not quite.
Exactly,
or you go, oh, that's perfect, that's better than what I thought. And then that becomes how I visualize it. So it's really interesting. And I've talked to, when I was teaching design, and I would teach students about, say, create something, it can be but do your own version of it. How many versions of whatever, Alice in Wonderland have there been? Disney, and how many different film versions, and the Tennille illustrations, and how many different visualization. Come up with your own concept, put your own spin on it, do your own version of it. And that was challenging them like that. It was really difficult for a lot of them.
Oh, sure.
Because they couldn't separate what they had already seen from their own imagination, do their own take on it. So,
and as I said, I thought of Brother Cadfael too. I have not read all of the stories, but I also remembered, and I wonder, and I have never researched, but I wondered if William of Baskerville, the name of the rose.
Oh yeah,
it wasn't. Well, I wonder if that was just like a copyright get around for the film for the name of the
it's
rose.
Absolutely a nod to Holmes' Hound of the Baskervilles. Absolutely.
No, the name certainly, but I mean, because William of Baskerville was the Sean Connery character in The Name of the Rose.
Yes.
Who was a former crusader knight
Yeah.
turned monk, and wasn't Kettle was a Benedictine
Uh,
or a Franciscan.
I think he was a Benedictine.
Okay,
So,
I'm remembering his habit from the TV series. That may or may not be accurate,
but the
but
name of the rose was based. The movie was based on the Umberto Eco
yes,
1986 novel, which is more than a decade after Ellis Peters' first Brother Cadfael
right.
story. So, um, well, 86. No, it was in 1980. Excuse me. The film was 86. The novel was 1980.
Oh,
So,
okay.
um,
Was that before the cat? When were the
no,
Cadfael
first
stories?
Cadfael was 77. First
Oh,
Cadfael
okay.
novel was 77. So,
May not
um,
have had all of the as wide a readership by that time, but
yeah. I
still,
do think the name of the rose, it was just brilliantly summarized for me the difference between um, between hidebound traditional authoritarian religion and a more independent, free thinking kind of thing,
mm,
where the and spoiler the antagonist, the
the bishop.
evildoer, yeah, says there is no new original thinking. There is only divine recapitulation
Yeah.
of what has already been learned. And it's like, wow, that was that. Yeah, and that says it right there. And so, divine recapitulation. Um, yeah, they changed the setting, they changed the names, and it was a one novel, one film thing.
Right.
So it's a little different. I think Brother Cadfael is more in the Miss Marple cottage core English countryside kind of
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
than
Even though he's a former, man of war,
yeah,
Sean Connery's depiction of him, at least, he's not so far out of his knighthood.
yeah.
He's still physically and willing to physically intimidate the people around him.
Yes, yeah. Um, and those, I think I mentioned five. On my honorable mention, Sam Spade by Dashiell Hammett, Nero Wolfe by Rex Stout. Less smart, but just annoying, you know. And has to have Archie Goodwin, his assistant, do the legwork because he doesn't want to leave his house and his comfort of his chair and his beer and his
Yeah, right.
orchids and all of that. And I mentioned Richard Diamond. No, I think was he one of mine?
Yeah, he wasn't one of mine.
No, I mentioned him as an also Rand. He was the
Oh,
Richard Diamond, the smartass, just wisecracking. More emphasis on the wisecracking than the hard boiled, cracking jokes all the time. Um, um, Played on radio by created by Blake Edwards. There were no novels that I know of. Created by Blake Edwards, who went on to direct The Pink Panther
yep,
with Inspector Clouseau,
yep. Mm-hmm.
who's the bumbling detective. Breakfast at Tiffany's, Victor Victoria. He was eventually married to Julie Andrews. And Dick Powell, was an actor and a singer, did these on radio. Usually the radio episodes ended with him singing to his girlfriend because he could. Peter Wimsey, you mentioned Lord Peter Wimsey. Those are really fun. Again, English, but not cottagecore, but upper class kind of things. There are a couple more I wanted to mention that are problematic. Charlie Chan and Mr. Moto.
Right at the top of my mind is when you said problematic.
Yeah, Charlie Chan and Mr. Moto. So, Charlie Chan, who in the movies was never played by an Asian actor, although his number one son was in a lot of movies played by Key Luke, who went on to great career as an actor. If you remember the TV series Kung Fu, he was Blind Master Po. Mr. Moto was played by Peter Lorre, who is not Japanese. And so problematic.
I just remember from Mr. Moto, the little bit I've seen, I just remember the terrible eye appliances that they had.
Yeah. So, and Charlie Chan too. So the conceit of those was that, and the Charlie Chan character was always quoting Confucius. Confucius says, or some other bit of some other
ancient wisdom,
Eastern aphorism. The conceit was that they're looking at things. They were the outsider looking at things, and so had that advantage in a way. But it was, those were challenging. There were rumors for years about bringing those back, but with appropriately cast. Yeah.
Not David Carradine.
David Carradine, as in Kung Fu, the series conceived of by Bruce Lee as a starring vehicle for himself, that they said, yeah, we think it's a great idea, but we're not casting you because you're actually Chinese.
You can't actually be the star.
Yeah. So I certainly enjoyed that series, but I would have enjoyed it more if Bruce Lee had actually been the star. There is a recent streaming series, similar in concept to Kung Fu, but with appropriately cast actors. I think, I'm just doing a quick check here. What's the, I can't remember the name of the series. It's, sorry.
I'm just looking at my list of other names that. Oh, there's a police detective. We didn't talk about too many of those, although Columbo came up. Is Harry Bosch?
Oh, those are so good.
Yeah,
so good.
Different in that he's tough. I mean, he's kind of physically tough, but he's not big or particularly strong or anything. He's one of those kind of like the diehard character. He is just willing to take punishment if that's what it takes.
Yeah.
But he is an absolute procedural cop.
Yeah. Grinding
through. I mean, he'll step outside the chalk lines from time to time to do what he thinks is necessary, but he is just the follow the lead, investigate, question, more like a real cop. And I love the sort of conceit that he wrote a novel that got bought out by a movie company that never actually got made into a movie.
Yeah.
but he got the money he made by selling the rights sort of funds this sort of semi-glamorous lifestyle that he doesn't share with anybody.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the TV series quite a
Yeah.
bit. There's a spin-off of it coming too.
Oh,
I
really?
mean, there was a follow-up series with him and where he leaves the police, becomes a private detective, but his daughter becomes a police officer.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
there's Michael Connelly's the author, and there's another series called Ballard that I think is about a police detective on the force as well. So yeah, really good. Good, honest, tough police detective. There are several of those in certainly in British television. There's all sorts in American television too. Kojak,
Yeah.
Telly Savalas, but they were and yeah, the law. I mean, Law and Order always does the combination of detection and prosecution. So there's certainly no shortage. I think one thing that characterizes all of all of them are a dedication to truth and
Yes.
courage to pursue it in spite of obstacles and perseverance. So there certainly are, and loyalty. So there certainly are virtues exemplified in the detective stories.
Yeah.
The TV series I mentioned that is a modern take on Kung Fu, it's called Warrior. It ran from 2019 to 2023. Great fight choreography.
Oh,
Great fight choreography in
is
it.
that streaming anywhere? I'd be interested.
It streams on Max.
I just signed up for that recently.
Yeah, Max.
All
So
right. I'll have to check it out.
yeah.
I want before we're probably done with this, but I want to give a special shout out as a young man in the 70s to Christy Love and the film
Oh,
Get Christy Love.
Pam Grier? Is that
Pam
it?
Grier,
Grier?
yes, as the trash talking black woman detective who took no crap off of nobody.
Hey, I'm
I
just
mean,
talking about Shaft.
yeah, well,
Sh-
Shaft, I mean, yeah, Shaft, I guess he's the not so much a detective as just the street samurai type,
yeah,
righting the wrongs, the
yeah.
injustices of his people, and Christy Love was an actual police detective,
Yes. Yeah.
but right sort of on the fringes of the blaxploitation phenomenon that happened in the late '60s, early '70s.
Yeah. Yeah. So
But
many. I mean, I'm just looking at her filmography here. Um, yeah. Wow. Yeah. What was the Coffee? Foxy Brown.
Foxy Brown, yeah,
Um,
another sort of take on that.
yeah. Yeah. So many of those. So good. You know. Yeah. Yeah. Well, in that, um, the Hebrew Hammer.
Oh, which is kind of the parody of Shaft and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah, exactly. Mordecai Jefferson Carver, the Hebrew Hammer. And most people don't get the joke because he saves, um, he saves Hanukkah is
Right.
one of the plot, if you want to call it that.
Yes.
from,
For lack of a
from,
better term.
yes, from Santa Claus's evil son, Damien Claus, played by Andy Dick, who is one of the most accurately named actors, Andy Dick. Um, so he saves Hanukkah, but Hanukkah celebrates the victory of the Maccabees, and restoring the temple, and Judah Maccabee was the leader of the Maccabees, but Maccabee is not a name. It means the hammer. It's Judah the hammer. So the Hebrew hammer saving Hanukkah. It's a joke that only members of the tribe MOT would get. So yeah.
I love that. I believe I was the one who introduced you to that movie.
You may have. I don't. I don't know. Um, Hank Greenberg, the
Chinese
baseball
guy.
baseball player. What?
Chinese guy?
Hank Greenberg, the professional baseball player, was also known as the Hebrew Hammer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was a professional baseball player. He played primarily for the Detroit Tigers.
Oh,
And
really?
he's
Huh.
in the Baseball Hall of Fame, 2 times MVP. Um, yep.
That's interesting. That's very interesting, actually.
Yeah. His lifetime batting average was 313, 331 home runs lifetime.
Okay.
Runs batted in 1,276. Just looking at his stats here. Yeah. And he served in the United States Army from 1940 to 1944, in the rank of achieving the rank of captain, and served in a bomber command.
So he was in for the whole thing.
Yes.
Huh.
Yep. So, yep. So,
Well, great.
yes. Well, this was fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So cool. Thank you for suggesting this
You
trip
are
down
welcome.
memory lane.
Yeah.
As I said, I like listening to the old time radio, and there are several places to do that. And the Philip Marlowe played by Gerald Moore, and the Richard Diamond played by Dick Powell, and the Sherlock Holmes with Basil Rathbone. And it's interesting, in a lot of them, Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce, they were eventually replaced. But the way they do in the radio series, the narrator, the host of the radio show, is invited into Dr. Watson's home because Watson has retired, and Watson tells him a story, and then it transitions into the radio drama. So they've
Okay.
kept the conceit of the narrator, and I think done that pretty well in a lot of those.
Nice. Okay. So, if y'all have detectives that you think we missed and deserve a ranking here, please write them into the comments.
Oh,
I
V.I.
don't-
Warshawski. V.I. Warshawski is a female detective, woman detective in, I think she was in Chicago, and great stories, and an absolutely terrible adaptation into a movie with Kathleen Turner, who I think
Oh,
would have
yes.
been great casting, but the movie was terrible. The books talk about jazz and Chicago blues, and the soundtrack was not any of that, and the story was a mishmash of several of the stories. So it was, real waste. They've never made another one. One of the others I want to shout out to, I've read all of them. I think it's the In Death series by J.D. Robb. It's a pen name for Nora Roberts. A The main character is a police detective lieutenant who's the head of the homicide squad, and her becomes her husband, a very wealthy man who's himself got his start as a criminal. And they're set in the future after the urban wars. So they're a
Oh,
post kind of post apocalyptic, but society has restored this. So there's enough it's enough for the future. There's some technology advance. So the In Death series, I recommend those. I really enjoy those quite a bit. They have not made any TV series, streaming, or movies of those, and there are 60 of those novels now, and they're immensely popular. She and what I'm assuming is a ghostwriting team turn out 2 of those a year.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's prolific.
Very, yeah. I think they're follow a formula, but they're really good, really enjoyable. I think you'd enjoy them.
Okay, what's the overall title of the series?
If you look up J.D. Robb In Death, you'll find them
Okay.
all. I recommend reading them in order.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I will.
Really
I'll look
good.
into it.
Yeah.
I've seen J.D. Robb has come across my
Yeah.
Amazon recommendation list before.
Yeah. I think you'd enjoy them. So a competent, dedicated police detective and her competent, dedicated people she works with, but it's also about the characters actually grow and develop over time. So it's not like they're completely unchanging. So
Sure.
yeah, so I think I really like those. And fan casting, wherein you take a novel and you say who would you cast in this. I think that would be an interesting subject for us to pursue.
Sure. For what? Well, we'll talk. We won't bore you with the discussion, but we'll
Yeah.
talk about what we should fan cast.
Yeah,
And
exactly. So
I have fan cast the whole Batman universe,
huh.
in my opinion, perfectly. If I could go back and pick people in different points of their career and install
Yes.
them into
Yeah. Yeah. It like this person from this period in time
Yeah.
would be great. But that's not possible anymore. So who would you cast now? Well, there's so many unknown actors that we don't know of, but that would be an interesting thing to do. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So
You stepped on my perfect segue from telling people to write in their detectives.
well, resume your segue.
So
Segue back into your segue. You can segue in, out, and in again.
And
So it's
okay,
a
so watch this.
segue.
Watch this smooth transition. As I was saying,
He was saying something, so pay attention. Yeah.
if you
Don't
have
let me
other
interrupt.
if you have other detectives that you think we missed that deserve mention here, that were your favorites growing up or modern or current, you think need some more attention, let us know. Write it in the comments. We would be happy to hear them. Please like and share and do all those things. Hit all those buttons. There's a fly flying around my microphone.
Yeah, but
And-
don't let me distract you when you could distract yourself.
Yeah, I swear it's not me. So please interact with us. Send us recommendations for new lists that we could come up with.
Exactly. And until we see you next time, be thou
a good knight
and true.